Today, we're breaking down one of the most explosive developments in U.S. economic policy in years, and it's sending shockwaves through global markets and diplomatic circles alike. In a dramatic showdown between the U.S. executive branch and the nation's highest court, the rules governing American trade and tariffs have been rewritten, and President Donald Trump has responded with a bold new strategy. On February 20th, 2026, U.S. trade policy took a dramatic turn. In a major decision, the Supreme Court of the United States struck down most of President Donald Trump's sweeping global tariffs. These tariffs had been a key part of Trump's economic strategy, aimed at reshaping America's trade relationships and reducing trade deficits. But in a 6-3 ruling, the court said the president had gone too far. At the center of the case was a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. Trump had used this law to justify imposing broad tariffs on goods from dozens of countries, arguing that trade imbalances and foreign competition posed a national emergency. However, the court ruled that this law does not give the president unlimited authority to impose tariffs without approval from Congress. The Constitution gives Congress the power to regulate trade, and the justices made it clear that emergency powers cannot replace that authority. The ruling was significant not just legally, but politically. It marked a rare moment where the Supreme Court directly limited presidential power over economic policy. For businesses in global markets, it created immediate uncertainty. Billions of dollars in tariffs that had already been collected were suddenly in legal question. Some experts began asking whether companies could seek refunds for duties they had paid under the now invalid tariffs. But the story did not end there. Within hours of the decision, President Trump responded with a new move. Using a different law, the Trade Act of 1974, he announced a new 10% global tariff on most imports entering the United States. Unlike the earlier tariffs, this one was framed as a temporary measure. Under Section 122 of the law, the president can impose short-term duties to address trade imbalances or protect the U.S. economy. The new 10% tariff is set to last for 150 days, though it could be extended or modified depending on economic conditions. This new tariff applies broadly to goods coming into the U.S., though some items are exempt. Certain pharmaceuticals, agricultural products, and goods covered under existing trade agreements have been excluded, at least temporarily. Still, the announcement sent a clear message. Tariffs remain central to Trump's economic strategy. Supporters argue that these tariffs protect American industries and encourage domestic production. They believe that foreign competitors, especially those benefiting from lower labor costs or government subsidies, have an unfair advantage. In their view, tariffs level the playing field and bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. Critics, however, warn that tariffs often raise prices for American consumers. When companies pay more to import goods, those costs are frequently passed on to buyers. Economists have long debated who truly pays for tariffs, but many studies suggest that much of the burden falls on domestic businesses and consumers rather than foreign exporters. On the global stage, the new 10% tariff adds another layer of tension. Trading partners may consider retaliatory measures, potentially leading to further trade disputes. Countries that had previously negotiated specific tariff deals with the U.S. now face a uniform 10% duty, creating fresh diplomatic challenges. In the end, this clash between the Supreme Court and the White House highlights a deeper issue: the balance of power in shaping U.S. trade policy. As legal battles continue and markets react, one thing is certain: America's tariff strategy remains a powerful and controversial force in global geopolitics.